Anime fandom is sort of the HPV of the internet in that everyone says it's gross, but also 90% of people have it. Tokyo Ghoul is an anime based on the works of Sue Ishida. I grew up with this anime, and I am maybe a bit biased. It's corny and full of all of the stuff you'd expect, but I would happily recommend it to anyone, which is more than I can say for the game I'm actually talking about. I wouldn't say it's the best anime in the world, but it is pretty good. At least that first season is. Concerning a very innocent boy being turned into a monster called a ghoul, a horrifying descent into madness that breaks him to the point where he becomes a monster, a process where his toes are chopped off and he has to watch many innocent people die. Though it doesn't compare to a killer main's first match against an unbeatable bully squad. Kaneki is a killer that relies on quick movements and a lot of tech to be useful. He has a strong learning curve that a lot of people will clunk their head against. Normally, it's something I'd brush off because I usually suck at movement killers. Thankfully, Kaneki isn't a dash killer, he's a ranged killer whose gun happens to be movement. I played this guy until the PTB crashed. I was there doing 1v1s and trying to learn the tech. I sat among those willing to endure 30 minutes of load screen on a fucking Sunday. I like him, enough to make me want to play Dead by Daylight for the first time in 6 months. I'm sorry if you missed me, by the way. I promise, I suffered more than you did. Swinging around the map is a unique take on Dead by Daylight's movement, and I see a tremendous amount of potential in him. Once you understand how this movement works, it goes from a fairly static power where you injure someone, then do nothing else, to a fairly static power where you dash to someone and then M1 them. Though that comes at the caveat of Kaneki being one of the most beginner-unfriendly killers in Dead by Daylight. As of right now, watch them make Springtrap players pivot their camera to avoid accidentally jumping through a window. Before we start to explain the power, I'd like to tell you what a ghoul is, by the way. Welcome to Anteku. What can I get for you, sir?
Ken Kaneki. Just the guy I was looking for. I've been looking into this ghoul nonsense. My wife's scared stiff, I tell you. They're supposed to be only capable of eating human flesh. Everything else tastes like mud to them. It's even supposed to empower their superhuman abilities. Their cognate become stronger, as well as their desire to kill. This real bad one has been called the binge eater. And I've been thinking that a coffee shop like this would be the perfect place for one to hang around.
Oh, but why would a ghoul need a job? You can't buy flesh at the corner store, Lieutenant.
You're right, Kaneki-san. I'll get out of your hair. Oh, just one more thing. I added a little something special to that coffee. Human blood. Most people would gag and spit that out, but you just swallowed it down like it was no big deal. Fancy that.
Kaneki's power allows him to fire out his Kagune, tentacles that protrude from his back, which will pull him towards any surface. And so much branches out from that, I'm not sure where to go. After your first dash, you can click on a survivor to deal damage and eat a piece of them. This will activate an enraged mode, giving Kaneki 3 dashes instead of 2, as well as letting him vault windows a bit faster. Biting survivors is incredibly easy, and it only gets easier after it's been done once. He has what I call the Kaneki tax, where your first health state is essentially on the house. The Legion tax, but at least your money's not going to a loser. This bite can only injure healthy survivors. You can gain the enraged effect from anybody, but it will only deal damage from healthy to injured. The bite will also incur a mark on the survivor. They will get a deep wound, which pauses the timer on that mark. When the deep wound ends, either by them mending the wound or getting downed, a timer starts. Once that timer ends, you will lose the enraged state. I did not go to college to make flowcharts behavior. While in midair, if you collide with a pallet or a window, you will vault. It's not faster than a survivor, but it's there. You will often notice yourself doing it because you meant to bite someone instead. With 3 dashes, the game is different, as you want to use your insane mobility to place yourself in a spot where you can hit the survivor with your basic swing. This can be as easy as clicking on the spot as close to them as possible, or as difficult as beating them to a window and body blocking it. The first hit is really easy. The second one you have to work for. This is where I think a lot of people are going to struggle, because it's not super evident what you're supposed to do with the power now that it can't hurt them anymore. See, you can cancel the swing in midair. This lets you put away the Kagune and get your weapon out. Not to mention that Kaneki has a slide, allowing him to maintain some of the dash's momentum as he pulls his weapon out. Oh, sorry, a slide if it's the first dash of not enraged or the first 2 dashes while enraged. So you just need to cancel it at the right time, while you still have some momentum to prep yourself for the hit. It's not easy, and I suspect once survivors have figured that out, a lot of you will be sitting here googling Kaneki guides. In essence, you're trying to position yourself so that you are too close to be avoided. This is very easy when a survivor is leaving a loop and they're in the open. It's much harder when you're on a tile. In fact, some short loops you can't use the power at all the while listening to a voice line that I'm sure only sounds better when you're losing. By the way, musically, this character is pretty interesting. The Terror Radius has this pretty sick guitar riff. However, I know Behavior can do better. I just don't know why you wasted that on Legion. Hell, why not give him lyrics? Anime openings are a staple. Tokyo Ghouls was the anime opening. Have some guts, Behavior. Like, imagine you were getting chased by the night and got hit with I want to give you something a little practical. The dash isn't so much of a dash as it is a swing. When I attach to something, I try to swing my mouse so that instead of crashing into it, I careen past it. This is important for making distance and to dash in front of survivors. Another thing is that Kaneki's only going to bump into things that his face touches. So if you realize your dash is heading towards a window, if you move your camera away from it, you'll end up sliding past it. Attaching to survivors once they're marked is dubious. It will hold both of you in place for a brief second, but they will recover before you do. Meaning that in most situations, they're going to gain distance from you. You can use it to vault the pallet and get some distance because they've been stunned while you're vaulting. Still, despite all that, none of this makes him amazing. In fact, I'd argue Dead by Daylight's high tiers are a pretty competitive place. However, Hillbilly still got mega buffed, so the mouth breathers can cross the map before their drool hits the floor. I do have more to say on the power, but I want to talk about his perks for now. They aren't the best, however, they are better than normal, but only the last one is good on him. Kaneki's first perk is nothing but misery. Once you get 8 regular hits on a survivor, it creates a hex. Then, all subsequent basic attacks hinder survivors by 5% for 15 seconds, until the hex is cleansed, of course. It's a part of Behavior's concession that regular hexes suck and that they should stop making them appear at the start of the trial. There hasn't been a hex that spawns normally since Trickster, 4 years ago. And just like a guy with too many new cars, I'm beginning to wonder why you keep leaving the wrecks of the old ones in the yard. This perk is going to work on pure M1 killers. Specifically, I've got it in mind for Houndmaster and Pinhead. That said, the main man himself didn't find it very useful. Kaneki doesn't do basic attacks with his grab-bite thing. He's too busy taking the Kaneki tax on the entire map. The 5% lasts 15 seconds, which is a good amount of time. I've had the same amount of value from batteries included, which is enough for me to believe it's a decent amount of value, but I can't say the same for the next perk. Kaneki's second perk is Forever Entwined. This allows you to get a token every time you damage a survivor, up to 8 times. Each token makes you pick up, drop, and hook survivors faster. This is useful on Kaneki in that he can in fact use it. I don't get it. Is this to save time on hooking? To mess with people's flashlight timing? Because I know 2 things that do that better. Hooking takes 1.5 seconds, meaning that you gain 1/4 of a second of time. What? This is a number so infinitely useless I'm insulted. Wait, what do you mean Call of Brine boils down to half a missed skill check? Lastly, you've got None Are Free. When you hook a survivor, you gain a token, up to a max of 4. When the final generator is done, all windows and pallets become blocked. The time this lasts depends on the amount of tokens you gained throughout the trial. You know the perk No Way Out? This perk activates when... Sorry, I don't know why that comes over me all the time. Essentially, it works the same way. You want to hook every survivor to get the full effect. The difference here is that you get more time to beat everyone's teeth in. No one will be able to run from you. Maybe they can use a sprint burst, but you will catch them. It's lethal. Very lethal. The problem is that it's an endgame perk. The kind you only end up bringing when the survivors have been sniffing paint the entire queue and end up dying at 5 generators. I kinda like it because it's tense, that the entire map becomes the killers for 50 seconds. No loops, no pallet stuns, only peace. Kaneki was one of the stronger killers with this perk. What I expect to become a common trend of his is to rush down pallets, break them, and then kill you before you reach the next one. And None Are Free removes the first and second step. I'm scratching something out of the flowchart for a change. As long as Kaneki can find people, this perk can guarantee some very violent damage from him. I'll probably use it without an endgame build, just for the quirkiness and the flavor. Listen, Kaneki, getting bonked on the head ain't so bad. The other guy you brought in with you is taking it much worse.
I am Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, and you shall know my wrath! Once I break this damn pallet!
I don't think much about add-ons. For a lot of people, add-ons are about finding the most undertuned part of the kit and looking for something to patch it up, usually in the brown or yellow add-ons. Me, I look at it like Chipotle. Yeah, I'll take one of those. Some of that. Why not? Give me the centipede. The red add-ons are lame. I don't care. We're gonna skip them. You know what? Fine. I brought this family together after 6 months! The first red thing causes your third vault to break pallets. Not great, but because your third vault is weaker than the other two, you can use the first two to bounce around and try to down someone, then the third to break the pallet if you can't. There's a method to it. It's just not very good. I doubt anyone will even notice it or recognize it. Yamori's mask causes you to see the aura of healthy survivors when you hook someone while enraged. Out of the first two, this is far more dangerous. It lets Kaneki snowball and keep up the enragement state. It is limited to healthy survivors, which the Kaneki tax does not leave a lot of. At least it does something though. Speaking of which, remember to file before April 15th. Kaneki should be approached with a lot of training wheels if you aren't used to killers like this. Perks that slow survivors down or speed you up. It's going to take a while to learn when to cancel the swing and how to cut people off. I tried a lot of perks over the course of my time, and these are the ones I generally gravitated towards. Unbound activates after you damage a survivor. If you vault a window in 30 seconds, you get a 10% haste for a handful of seconds. I'd pair that with the new Knockout, which has changed from a giant middle finger to enemy survivors to a basic chase perk. If a pallet gets dropped and the survivor runs too far from it, they get a brief hindrance. I found that the combination of these two is enough to make up a small amount of skill issue. Kaneki is also a character able to force a lot of pallet drops, meaning that perks which help you break them will be useful on him. I'm gonna keep it simple because I'm on a new medication and I get tired easily. Brutal Strength is literally the first perk in the game. You break pallets and generators 25% faster. That's it. There's also Bamboozle. When you vault a pallet, you do it faster and block it on the exit for 10 seconds. Something to note about Kaneki is that he actually applies his perks when he vaults windows. And since Kaneki is a beast at catching people in between loops, being able to block a window and forcing them to W key away opens them up to bullshit. It essentially lets you tie their hands behind their back. Kaneki also has some really good movement, meaning that a lot of gen kicking perks do their job perfectly fine on him. That said, this killer is a menace at injuring everybody, so I like to give survivors some incentive to heal. Without perks, survivors might give up being healthy entirely and try to slam out generators. To capitalize or counteract that, I've got two perks that I enjoy: Blood Echo and Thanatophobia. Thanatophobia can fill the role of slowdown. This perk incurs a penalty to action speed for every injured, downed, or hooked survivor, and if everyone's suffering, it incurs a stronger penalty altogether. Or as I like to say, just fucking heal. Blood Echo activates when you hook a survivor, inflicting exhaustion and hemorrhage on everyone that is also injured. Since Kaneki can engage in chases by screaming at the top of his lungs and deeming it so, it's not hard to end up in a chase right after hooking someone where this exhaustion can mean something. Plus, since you're so good at closing distance, exhaustion abilities are one of the few lifelines survivors have. Taking that away and then jumping in their face is only going to get funnier after it's their 50th Kaneki that day. That's Kaneki. I'm cool. I'm good. If you've been playing for a little bit of time, it's not the most difficult thing in the world. I get that maybe anime was a bit too much for some people. I just hope they recognize that they're standing downstream, and it's only going to rain more. Anime doesn't strike me as that big of a stretch though. If you really think about it, Dead by Daylight is just horror angel beats. You wake up somewhere strange with no memory of how you got there, you can't die, an unstoppable creature is roaming about, God might randomly discard you for unknown reasons, and at the end of the day, you get serenaded by a little guitar. I know that reference might be too much for some people, but I opened this with a Columbo bit, so I hope that shows how much I care about that kind of thing. That was fun. I don't get a lot of stuff that I'm actually invested in. Tokyo Ghoul is something I care about, so I'm happy. If you're worried he's gonna be problematic, I'd say he'll be as big of a problem as the last two cannibals. You better hope he doesn't go the route of those last two cannibals. Hey, thanks for watching. I know it's been a while. Thank you for sticking around and waiting so long for this. I don't know if I'll end up doing a Houndmaster video. I'm gonna be honest, she just doesn't interest me a whole lot. And I'm just having fun with variety content. That said, I'm not gonna leave Dead by Daylight alone forever. Like, I will absolutely come back for Tokyo Ghoul, and there is no way in hell I'm gonna let go of Springtrap. That said, if you were disappointed, I'm sorry. Also, I'd like to thank the people on Patreon who made this video possible. I would especially like to thank Mario Fan 997, Ethan A, Rowby, where's my 20 bucks? I don't know, man, I think I lost it. Mini McNugget, Anthony R. Chambers, Syrup, Pyrozine, and Joke's on You. Thank you guys for sticking around, by the way. I have no idea if people really want to wait 6 months for a video like this, but I hope if you did that you enjoyed it. I'll see you around in the next video. Take care of yourself.